Behind the silver screen perfection of Hollywood's golden age lurked a scandalous truth. The most beloved leading men were serial cheaters who traded marriage vows for passionate affairs with their glamorous co-stars. These weren't just whispered rumors. These were explosive betrayals that destroyed families and shocked an entire nation. Number 15. Tony Curtis. The pretty boy heartthrob who made teenage girls swoon couldn't keep it in his pants to save his marriage. Tony Curtis, fresh off his breakout role in Some Like It Hot, was the classic case of a star who let fame go straight to his head and, unfortunately, straight into other women's beds. Married to actress Janet Leigh from 1951 to 1962, Curtis was Hollywood's golden couple poster boy. But behind closed doors, he was a walking disaster zone of infidelity. While filming Trapeze in 1956, Curtis began a torrid affair with Italian bombshell Gina Lollobrigida that made headlines across Europe. The affair was so blatant that even European paparazzi were shocked by their public displays of affection. What made this betrayal particularly cruel was that Leigh was pregnant with their daughter Jamie Lee Curtis at the time, suffering through morning sickness while her husband was gallivanting across European film sets with his co-star. Curtis didn't stop there. During the filming of Some Like It Hot in 1959, he had a brief but intense fling with Marilyn Monroe, despite spending months complaining about her behind-the-scenes behavior to anyone who would listen. The hypocrisy was staggering. Leigh remained loyal through years of humiliation, even as Curtis's substance abuse problems escalated alongside his womanizing. When their divorce was finalized in 1962, Leigh later revealed that his constant infidelities had caused her deep emotional trauma that took years to overcome. Curtis admitted decades later that he wasn't ready for marriage, but it was Leigh who paid the real price for his Hollywood ego trip. Number 14. David Niven. The suave British gentleman who charmed audiences in Around the World in 80 Days was hiding a dark secret behind his refined exterior. David Niven's smooth accent and impeccable manners made him the epitome of sophistication, but his treatment of women revealed a man who used his charm as a weapon of emotional destruction. Niven's second marriage to Swedish model Hjördis Genberg in 1948 started with promise, but quickly deteriorated as his serial infidelities became impossible to ignore. While filming The Moon is Blue, Niven carried on a prolonged affair with actress Maggie McNamara that was so obvious even crew members gossiped about their on-set chemistry. The cruel twist? Niven would openly praise McNamara's purity in interviews, while his wife battled depression at home. Friends later revealed that Niven had numerous brief affairs throughout his career, often while Genberg struggled with alcohol addiction and made multiple attempts to end her own life. These incidents were kept from the press, but those close to the couple knew the truth. Despite his refined public persona, Niven's betrayals contributed to the slow unraveling of his wife's mental health. Her pain remained largely invisible to the public, a private consequence of his very public success. The perfect English gentleman was anything but perfect when the cameras stopped rolling. Number 13. John Wayne. America's ultimate cowboy hero was playing fast and loose with more than just movie scripts. John Wayne, the man who embodied rugged American masculinity on screen, was living a double life that would have destroyed his all-American image if the truth had come out during his prime years. Married 3 times, Wayne's second wife, Esperanza Bauer, publicly accused him of chronic infidelity, claiming he would return home reeking of other women's perfume. But his most devastating betrayal came during the filming of The Quiet Man in 1952, when he began a passionate affair with Maureen O'Hara that became Hollywood's worst-kept secret. Their chemistry was undeniable both on and off screen, and multiple crew members later revealed that the pair would disappear for hours between takes, leaving production schedules in chaos. O'Hara was Catholic and refused to divorce her husband at the time, which mirrored Wayne's own complicated moral stance about marriage and fidelity. The irony was thick as molasses. Here was a man who publicly championed traditional family values, while privately defying every principle he claimed to uphold. His final wife, Pilar Palete, endured years of neglect and infidelity, including affairs with younger actresses and personal assistants that became increasingly brazen as Wayne aged. Despite his patriotic image and public support of conservative family values, his private life left a trail of heartbreak that contradicted everything he claimed to represent. The Duke may have won the West on screen, but he lost every battle for marital integrity in real life. Number 12. Errol Flynn. The swashbuckling hero of Captain Blood brought his adventure-seeking spirit into his personal life with catastrophic results for his marriages. Errol Flynn was Hollywood's original bad boy, and he lived up to that reputation in the worst possible ways, treating marriage vows like movie scripts, something to be performed when convenient and discarded when boring. Flynn's first marriage to actress Lily DeMita was doomed from the start due to his compulsive infidelity. While filming The Charge of the Light Brigade, Flynn began a passionate secret affair with Olivia de Havilland that would continue on and off through several more films together. Though de Havilland later downplayed their relationship, crew members reported that the two would often disappear between takes, leaving DeMita to discover their betrayal through Hollywood gossip. The marriage reached its breaking point when Flynn started seeing the volatile Lupe Velez during Another Dawn. Velez made no attempt to hide their relationship and actually called DeMita directly to taunt her about the affair, creating such fierce tension that studio head Jack Warner had to intervene to prevent the women from coming to physical blows at a Hollywood restaurant. Flynn's most brazen betrayal came during the filming of Dive Bomber in 1941, when he began seeing 19-year-old actress Linda Christian while DeMita was in the hospital recovering from surgery. When DeMita discovered love letters from Christian in Flynn's jacket pocket, she finally filed for divorce after 8 years of public humiliation. Flynn's second marriage to Nora Eddington fared no better, as he continued his pattern of on-set affairs, proving that some leopards never change their spots. Number 11. Robert Taylor. The man with the perfect profile was anything but perfect when it came to fidelity. Robert Taylor, MGM's golden boy with his sophisticated charm and classical good looks, was marketed as the ideal American husband. But behind closed doors, he couldn't resist the allure of his leading ladies, turning every film set into his personal hunting ground. Taylor's marriage to powerhouse actress Barbara Stanwyck in 1939 was celebrated as a union of Hollywood royalty, but it quickly became a masterclass in public image management versus private betrayal. His first significant affair began on the set of Camille with the enigmatic Greta Garbo, and though brief, it established a pattern that would plague his marriage for years. During the filming of Escape in 1940, Taylor began a liaison with co-star Norma Shearer, the widow of MGM's production chief. While Stanwyck was busy filming her own projects, Taylor and Shearer's trailer meetings became an open secret on the MGM lot. But Stanwyck maintained her dignified silence to protect both their careers. The breaking point came when Stanwyck surprised him with a visit to the set of Above and Beyond, only to discover him in a compromising position with Eleanor Parker in his dressing room. According to close friends, the sight devastated Stanwyck, who had used her star power to advance Taylor's career and had endured years of whispered rumors about his infidelities. After 13 years of marriage and countless betrayals, Stanwyck finally filed for divorce in 1951, later stating simply that he found greener pastures. The understatement masked years of heartbreak caused by a man who couldn't separate business from pleasure. Number 10. Walter Pidgeon. The wholesome, dependable leading man of Mrs. Miniver was harboring some very unwholesome secrets behind his respectable facade. Walter Pidgeon projected such a trustworthy image that audiences would have been shocked to know about his extensive catalog of affairs with co-stars, proving that sometimes the most seemingly innocent actors are the most dangerous. Married to Ruth Walker from 1931 until her death in 1978, Pidgeon maintained a public facade of marital devotion while conducting numerous affairs throughout his career. His first significant on-set relationship began during the filming of Man Proof with Myrna Loy in 1938, an affair that flew under the radar due to their discretion and the studio's aggressive image control. His most serious extra-marital relationship developed with Greer Garson, his frequent co-star in 9 films beginning with Blossoms in the Dust. Their off-screen chemistry was no act, with crew members from multiple productions reporting that the stars would often arrive late to set after spending extended time in Pidgeon's dressing room. Their relationship continued for years despite both being married to other people. The most shocking scandal came in 1948 during Julia Misbehaves when Pidgeon became involved with 16-year-old Elizabeth Taylor while his wife was seriously ill. The brief affair devastated Ruth and highlighted the growing emotional chasm in their marriage. Despite these betrayals, they stayed together, upheld by MGM's fear of scandal and their aggressive damage control. Pigeon's betrayals remained hidden from the public, leaving fans to believe in the dignified gentleman they saw on screen, while his wife suffered in silence. Number 9. Gary Cooper. The strong, silent type had some very loud secrets when it came to his love life. Gary Cooper, the epitome of rugged American masculinity in classics like High Noon, projected an image of solid values and moral strength. But his private behavior told a completely different story of weakness, betrayal, and moral bankruptcy. Cooper's marriage to socialite Veronica Rocky Cooper in 1933 was portrayed by studio publicity as the perfect union of Hollywood glamour and old money respectability. But the reality was far messier. His affairs with co-stars began almost immediately after his marriage, starting with a relationship with Marlene Dietrich during Desire that continued on and off for years. Rocky learned of the Dietrich affair when she found love letters in her husband's jacket pocket, leading to a temporary separation. Rather than ending his marriage, Rocky decided to fight for it, accompanying Cooper to nearly every film set afterward. This strategy worked until she let down her guard, and when Rocky returned to New York during the filming of For Whom the Bell Tolls, Cooper began a passionate affair with co-star Ingrid Bergman. The most devastating betrayal came during The Fountainhead in 1949 when Cooper began seeing Patricia Neal, 25 years his junior. Unlike his previous affairs, this one wasn't just physical. Cooper fell deeply in love and actually left Rocky, moving into an apartment with his young co-star. This public humiliation was particularly painful for Rocky, who had endured years of discreet affairs, only to be abandoned for a much younger woman. The affair continued for 2 years before Rocky's carefully orchestrated campaign finally won him back, but the trust was permanently broken. Number 8. Humphrey Bogart. Before his legendary romance with Lauren Bacall, Bogart was stuck in a marriage that was as volatile as his on-screen persona. Humphrey Bogart's relationship with actress Mayo Method was nicknamed the Battling Bogarts by the press. But what remained largely hidden was how Bogart's serial cheating with co-stars fueled their legendary fights and eventually destroyed their marriage. Bogart's most brutal betrayal came in 1944 during To Have and Have Not, when he began a highly visible affair with 19-year-old Lauren Bacall, despite their 25-year age difference in his married status. Rather than conducting a discreet affair, Bogart flaunted the relationship, even bringing Bacall to his home while Method was away, showing a level of disrespect that was shocking even by Hollywood standards. When Method discovered the affair, their already legendary fights became even more violent, with one confrontation reportedly ending with her stabbing Bogart with a kitchen knife, requiring medical attention that studio publicists covered up by attributing his injury to an on-set accident. Warner Brothers executives, concerned about potential scandal, arranged for Method to be hospitalized for exhaustion to keep her away from the set. Bacall wasn't his first affair. Bogart had previously had relationships with co-stars Mary Astor during The Maltese Falcon and Ingrid Bergman while filming Casablanca. Method's increasing alcoholism and paranoia were partly fueled by her awareness of these betrayals, creating a vicious cycle of suspicion and confrontation. What made Bogart's behavior particularly cruel was his public humiliation of Method, openly escorting Bacall to industry events while leaving his wife to learn about their appearances through gossip columns. After their divorce in 1945, Method's career collapsed, and she died in 1951 at just 47, divorced, unemployable, and largely forgotten. Number 7. Dean Martin. The smooth crooner who partnered with Jerry Lewis underwent more than just a name change when he transformed from Dino Crecchetti to Dean Martin. His sophisticated charm and laid-back persona made him the epitome of cool, but his approach to marriage vows was decidedly uncool, treating fidelity like an outdated concept that cramped his style. Martin's transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal, and it came at the expense of his marriage to Betty McDonald, whom he'd married before his rise to fame. As his career soared with Jerry Lewis, Martin's ego inflated along with his bank account. and he began to view his small-town wife as an embarrassing reminder of his humble origins. His affairs became increasingly brazen as his fame grew, particularly his relationship with actress Jean Beager, whom he met while still married to Betty. Martin's approach was calculated and cold. He essentially conducted a public courtship of Beager while maintaining the pretense of his marriage for publicity purposes. The humiliation for Betty was complete when Martin filed for divorce and married Beager within months, making it clear that his first wife had been discarded like yesterday's newspaper. Martin's pattern continued into his second marriage, as he reportedly had affairs with numerous co-stars and nightclub performers throughout his career. His cool, detached persona that made him so appealing on screen translated into an emotional coldness in his personal relationships that left a trail of broken hearts and damaged families. The king of cool was anything but cool when it came to treating the women in his life with basic human decency. Number 6. Spencer Tracy, Hollywood's most respected actor, won consecutive Academy Awards and embodied integrity on screen, but his private life was a masterclass in deception and betrayal. Spencer Tracy's 42-year marriage to Louise Treadwell was held up as an example of Hollywood stability, but the reality was that Tracy had essentially abandoned his marriage while maintaining the legal fiction for public relations purposes. Though Tracy and Louise separated in the early 1930s, they never divorced, partly due to Tracy's Catholic faith and partly to maintain his public image as a man of moral integrity. Despite the separation, Tracy's affairs with co-stars were still betrayals of a marriage that legally existed, even as he lived apart from Louise for decades while she raised their deaf son and founded a clinic for hearing-impaired children. Tracy's most infamous relationship was with Katharine Hepburn, which began during the filming of Woman of the Year in 1942 and continued until his death in 1967. Though this relationship is often romanticized, it's important to remember that Tracy remained legally married to Louise, who refused to grant a divorce and maintained the public fiction that they were still a couple. But Tracy's infidelities weren't limited to Hepburn. He had affairs with Ingrid Bergman during Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Lana Turner during Cass Timberlane, and Loretta Young during Man's Castle. Each new co-star seemed to present a fresh temptation that Tracy rarely resisted. The betrayal that particularly hurt Louise came when Tracy began seeing Gene Tierney during Plymouth Adventure, and this affair became public when they were photographed together at a restaurant, forcing Louise to acknowledge what Hollywood insiders had known for years. Despite his reputation as a man of integrity, Tracy's personal behavior made a mockery of the values he portrayed on screen. Number 5. Bing Crosby. America's beloved crooner cultivated an image as the ultimate family man, but behind his wholesome facade lay a pattern of betrayal that would devastate his wife and ultimately contribute to her early death. Bing Crosby's first marriage to Dixie Lee was portrayed in fan magazines as idyllic, producing 4 sons and representing the perfect American family, but the truth was far more sinister. Crosby's affairs began early in his marriage, starting with co-star Shirley Ross during Waikiki Wedding. When Dixie confronted him about rumors of the affair, Crosby dismissed her concerns and gaslit her into believing she was being paranoid, establishing a cruel pattern of psychological manipulation that would define their relationship for years to come. The most devastating betrayal came during Holiday Inn in 1942, when Crosby began an intense affair with co-star Marjorie Reynolds that continued long after production wrapped. What made this affair particularly cruel was that Dixie was battling breast cancer at the time, undergoing painful treatments while Crosby was spending evenings with Reynolds. When Dixie discovered love letters from Reynolds in Crosby's golf bag, rather than confessing, Crosby became enraged, blaming Dixie for snooping and causing her additional stress during her cancer treatment. As Dixie's health deteriorated, partly due to alcoholism that friends claimed was fueled by her knowledge of Crosby's infidelities, he began a relationship with actress Joan Caulfield during Blue Skies. Their affair became an open secret in Hollywood, with the two frequently seen together at restaurants and clubs while Dixie was at home, often bedridden. Perhaps most devastating was a discovery made after Dixie's death from cancer in 1952. She had kept a journal documenting Crosby's affairs and the pain they caused her. Her last entry reportedly read, "I live my life as a footnote to his." Just 7 months after her death, Crosby married actress Katharine Grant, completing his transformation from grieving widower to happy newlywed with unseemly haste. Number 4. Frank Sinatra. At the top of our list of serial cheaters is Frank Sinatra, whose marital infidelities were so numerous and brazen that they became almost as legendary as his musical career. Sinatra's first marriage to Nancy Barbado lasted from 1939 to 1951 and produced 3 children, but it was marked by his flagrant affairs with Hollywood co-stars that he barely bothered to hide. Sinatra's first major on-set romance began during Higher and Higher with co-star Michelle Morgan. Nancy, who was pregnant with their 3rd child at the time, learned of the affair through gossip columns, causing her to confront Sinatra by telephone from across the country. His response was to deny everything and accuse her of trying to ruin his big break in Hollywood, establishing a pattern of gaslighting that would define their marriage. His affair with Lana Turner during The Kissing Bandit established his reputation as an unrepentant philanderer. Their relationship was hardly discreet, with the pair frequently photographed at nightclubs together, while Nancy remained in New Jersey with their children. When confronted, Sinatra didn't deny the affair, but instead told Nancy she needed to understand how things worked in Hollywood. The most devastating betrayal came when Sinatra met Ava Gardner while filming Take Me Out to the Ballgame. Their chemistry was immediate and explosive, and unlike his previous affairs, Sinatra made no attempt to hide this one, often missing family events to be with Gardner. What made Sinatra's behavior particularly cruel was his systematic gaslighting of Nancy. When she would confront him with evidence of his affairs, he would rage at her, accusing her of spying on him and threatening to end the marriage if she didn't accept his friendships with co-stars. The final humiliation came when Sinatra abruptly announced he was leaving Nancy for Gardner, making his decision public before even informing his wife, leaving Nancy to learn about the end of her marriage from newspaper headlines. Number 3. Clark Gable. The King of Hollywood earned his crown through his performances on screen, but his off-screen behavior was anything but regal when it came to treating the women in his life. Clark Gable's rugged masculinity and devastating charm made him MGM's most valuable male star, but his compulsive infidelity turned every movie set into a hunting ground and every co-star into a potential conquest. Gable's notorious affair with Loretta Young during the filming of The Call of the Wild in 1935 resulted in a daughter, Judy Lewis, while he was married to Maria Langham. Young, unmarried but deeply Catholic, went to extraordinary lengths to hide the pregnancy, taking an extended trip to Europe before returning to give birth in secret. She later adopted her own daughter to avoid scandal, and the truth remained hidden from the public for decades. While married to his beloved 3rd wife, Carole Lombard, Gable was reportedly faithful, but after her tragic death in a plane crash in 1942, he returned to his old ways with a vengeance. During the filming of Adventure in 1945, Gable began an affair with co-star Greer Garson, who was married at the time. Their on-set relationship was an open secret, with crew members recounting how production would often be delayed because the stars were locked in Gable's dressing room. His marriage to Lady Sylvia Ashley in 1949 was already crumbling when he began filming Mogambo with Ava Gardner and Grace Kelly in 1953. Gable reportedly had affairs with both women during the African location shoot, with Grace Kelly later admitting to the affair, saying, "What else is there to do if you're alone in a tent in Africa with Clark Gable?" Even in his final marriage to Kay Spreckles, which lasted until his death in 1960, he continued his on-set dalliances, including a brief fling with Marilyn Monroe during The Misfits. What made Gable's infidelities particularly notable was how they contrasted with his all-American hero image, proving that even the King of Hollywood couldn't be trusted with the keys to the kingdom of marriage. Number 2. Ingrid Bergman. The Swedish angel who captivated audiences in Casablanca shocked the world when she abandoned her husband and daughter for a passionate affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. Ingrid Bergman's fall from grace was so spectacular that it redefined Hollywood scandal and proved that even the most beloved stars could face complete social exile for following their hearts. Bergman's affair with Rossellini began in 1949 during the filming of Stromboli, and what made it so scandalous wasn't just the adultery, but the blatant way she conducted it. Both were married to other people, but they made no attempt to hide their relationship, with Bergman becoming pregnant with Rossellini's child before her divorce was finalized. The public backlash was swift and brutal. U.S. Senator Edwin C. Johnson took to the Senate floor to denounce Bergman as one of the most powerful women on earth. I regret to say, a powerful influence for evil. He called her and Rita Hayworth apostles of degradation and proposed legislation to ban actors based on their moral conduct. Bergman's films were boycotted across America. She was banned from The Ed Sullivan Show, and she received thousands of pieces of hate mail calling her everything from a dirty whore to a traitor to American values. The scandal forced Bergman into European exile for nearly a decade, during which she and Rossellini married and had 3 children together, including actress Isabella Rossellini. When she finally returned to Hollywood in 1956 with Anastasia, winning her second Oscar, it was seen as one of the greatest comebacks in entertainment history. But the price she paid for following her heart was enormous. She lost her career, her homeland, and her relationship with her eldest daughter for years, proving that in 1950s America, female stars were held to impossible moral standards that their male counterparts routinely ignored. Number 1. Tyrone Power. The number 1 spot goes to Tyrone Power, the swashbuckling heartthrob who turned adultery into an art form and broke more hearts than any leading man of his generation. With his dark good looks and magnetic screen presence, Power was 20th Century Fox's biggest box office draw, but his private life was a revolving door of affairs that destroyed marriages and left a trail of broken women in his wake. Power's 1939 marriage to French actress Annabella was portrayed by the studio as a romantic fairy tale. But the fairy tale quickly turned into a nightmare as Power began a series of affairs with his co-stars that would make even today's tabloid stars blush. His first significant on-set romance was with Betty Grable while filming a Yank in the RAF. And their chemistry wasn't just for the cameras. Their affair continued intermittently, even after filming concluded. The situation intensified when Power began filming Blood and Sand with Rita Hayworth, beginning one of Hollywood's most torrid affairs that was barely concealed from the cast and crew. Annabella was devastated when gossip columnists began hinting at trouble in their marriage, and within Hollywood circles, it was no secret that Power and Hayworth were completely consumed with each other. But Power's most devastating betrayal came from his extended affair with Lana Turner during The Razor's Edge. Their relationship was so intense that Turner later confessed it was one of the great passions of her life. The accumulated weight of Power's infidelities finally broke the marriage, and Annabella filed for divorce in 1948. What made Power's betrayals particularly cruel was that Annabella had suffered a miscarriage early in their marriage and was unable to have children afterward, a fact that Power reportedly threw in her face during arguments about his affairs. After the divorce, Power quickly married Linda Christian, but his pattern of infidelity continued, proving that his on-set affairs weren't just about opportunity, but a fundamental inability to remain faithful to any woman, no matter how much she loved him. Which of these betrayals shocked you most? Do you think these classic stars would survive today's social media scrutiny? Or were they products of a more forgiving era? Let us know in the comments, and remember, sometimes the biggest monsters are the ones who look like princes on the silver screen.